This is Kerrigan & Company. Why have a job when you can have a purpose? When you work for the Northeast Arc, you're joining a team dedicated to creating inclusive communities for people with disabilities. As an organization that supports more than 10,000 people each year, it's easy to find a role that fits your skills and passion. Become part of an organization that was named one of the best employers in Massachusetts. Visit ne-arc.org/careers to view job opportunities and apply. That's ne-arc.org/careers. Hi, everybody. It's Kim. Hey, do you love soccer? Well, today we've got soccer of all kinds. This is Kerrigan & Company.
Kerrigan & Company is here for you. Yes, Kerrigan & Company is here for you.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Kerrigan & Company. So good to have you with us today. And we have a show that sort of centers around sports. We have some great synergy today, and I'm very excited about that. But my co-host today, which also certainly has a sports link, is someone that I actually never met until moments ago. And I'm so happy because I'm someone who has admired his work for a very long time. I am so pleased to have the very popular Josh Brogadir from WCVB Channel 5 here. It's good to see you.
Kim, it is great to see you and finally meet you, and I will pass that compliment right back to you. Likewise.
Well,
I've been admiring your work for a very long time.
That's a kind thing for you to say.
It's the truth.
You know, isn't it crazy because you kind of feel like everybody in this business.
It's sort of that way, right?
But you and I didn't know each other.
We have a ton of mutual friends and colleagues that we've worked with in the past.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it's almost like we know each other.
I think that's really true.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I know you. I'm one of
sure.
those people, I don't know if you have this experience, Josh, but I swear, the whole time I worked on television and to this day, I would get so excited when I would see other people who worked on TV.
Oh,
I would be like,
absolutely.
oh, they're on TV.
It really is something. And, you know, when you meet someone for the first time, like in this situation, and you really feel like you know them, it's like we could have a conversation that we've already had, even though we haven't had it yet. You know what I mean?
I do know. I know exactly. Well, we've already gotten into each other's lives. We already know the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm almost positive we're going to, vacation together soon.
That's it. Sometime. Let's plan it right now.
Josh, I got to tell you, looking into your resume, if you will, there is so much about you that people don't know because I didn't know it.
Okay.
And it is so incredibly impressive. Obviously, you are a sports reporter and anchor at CVB and have been a sports guy for a long time, you know, but a very strong news reporter in this city as well, which that's not always an easy thing to do, to go back and forth.
Right.
So that in and of itself, you know, Gene Levanchi, my dear friend,
for sure,
he made that leap. And it's a hard one to make. So I take my hat off to you. You went the other direction, but it's a hard one to make. But Josh, you are an actor.
Yeah. Am. Somewhat.
You are a voiceover artist.
I suppose we should do a couple of different accents for you today, if you'd like it, Kim.
Listen to
It's all right.
people.
We'll go right there now, don't we? Anyway,
Josh, we're getting into this.
All
you
right.
worked for a modeling agency for a time period.
Yeah,
You were
a little bit. You know, before the grays started popping on the corner of my, on the sides of my ears. Yeah.
You played collegiate football. In a league that I was not aware of, that you've brought to my attention.
I will fill you in when you're ready.
We are going to talk about that. And on top of all of these things, folks, on top of all of these are individual careers, one in all. But then in addition to that, you're a scholar. You went to UPenn.
So I did. They have to let somebody in who they don't usually
stop
let in.
that.
So,
that is not true.
We joke we really couldn't get in today. It was great we got in when we did because, whoo, boy, is that hard to get into now.
Well, listen, it's on your resume, my friend. It doesn't make any difference. And I know that you're being very humble. When you went to UPenn, though, this is where you started. Well, it's not where you started, but it's where you played collegiate football. But this is so let me just fill you in. My oldest played collegiate football.
Where did he play?
He played at Colby.
Excellent.
And he's 6'4", and at his, heaviest weight during football then, he was close to 300 pounds.
Wow.
He's a 200-pounder now. That is not.
I'm not quite there. But
right. But you played it. You know why I don't know about the kind of football you played now. I say that only because of that.
Oh,
so you played sprint, what's now called sprint football.
Yes.
Talk about this.
Terrific research, by the way. Thank you for digging into the annals of my world.
Are you nervous? Because you never know
actually
what
not
I may
nervous.
pull out
It's
now.
so funny because I went down a little bit of Brogadir memory lane then and realized that I truly am the jack of all trades, master of none, by the way, master
Yes,
of none.
you are. That's
And so what I played at the time was a little bit more of a disparaging way of calling us lightweight football.
Yeah.
Now they call it sprint football to accentuate the speed and athleticism of the athletes. But in all honesty, that's what it is. When I played, it was 165-pound tackle football, and it's a varsity sport. And at the time, it was Penn, Princeton, Cornell, Army, Navy. It's a bunch of different schools now. And I tell people it's like Pop Warner for college kids.
Right.
So like your son couldn't have played. He would have been way
Yeah,
more.
absolutely.
We did have to weigh in.
Yep.
I was one of the smaller guys. I was a defensive back. So I could weigh in actually with my backpack on the Wednesdays before the game. And the big guys were so angry, Kim.
Oh.
They were like, did you seriously just come from class with your bag and you're weighing in on the scale?
How dare you?
How dare I do it? But I did it.
It is a spectacular sport. I mean, I have to
Absolutely.
tell you something. I would love to see that played because you have superior athleticism and agility because you have these men who are in primo shape.
Yeah.
Playing. And
Right.
I find, I mean, that's the part of the game that I enjoy so much. I'm a huge football fan.
Nice.
So it's the part of the game that I really, really love anyway. And I know that I would love this, but why I didn't know about it. And I started doing some research on it, Josh. And there's some big names through the years
You
who
saw
have
Don
played it.
Rumsfeld show up, Jimmy Carter, Robert Kraft. There are some big names at different schools.
Which
yes.
I had no idea. And it actually started, some of the players that were named played in 1934.
Yeah, a long
This was a
time ago.
sport that has existed. I'm sure probably at that point maybe it wasn't a varsity sport. Maybe was it a
not.
club sport? I don't know.
It may have been. I'm not sure when it
Yeah.
became varsity, but yeah.
Yeah. It's phenomenal. Good experience?
Loved. I mean, I played for a guy, Coach Bill Wagner, who has since retired. 50 years of coaching.
Wow.
5-0. Yeah. He's an
Wow.
inspiration to all of us. And it was, it's really for the love of the game, as you can imagine.
course.
You know, the notoriety may not be there. We played at Franklin Field in Philadelphia, which seats more than 60,000 people. And there were probably about 200 there for our games, little pockets of our friends kind of showing up, which we, of course, appreciated and felt special anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, there's something about collegiate athletics, and I know that you can appreciate this. It doesn't really matter the level that you're on. The demands on your time are like a full-time job.
Right.
And any collegiate athlete, regardless, I think, of the level at which you play, is a fantastic employee. Because they learn to juggle all of these things and
Knew
do
you
it
were going
well.
there. Yeah, you really have to plan your schedule properly.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
even when you're a kid like I was at the time, you're thinking, well, I really want to take that class, but oh, wait a minute, it's right during practice. Is your coach going to be okay with you missing practice for class? Not if you can take one in the morning with a different professor.
You got it.
So you really have to budget your time. It was very useful, I have to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you went to UPenn, where obviously scholastics were so important.
Yeah,
you
for
know.
sure.
So you were juggling all of that.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
impressive. It's impressive.
Thanks, Kim.
Then you became an actor.
Not in that order, though.
Okay, so help me out.
Can we go in order here a little bit?
Well, let me see. Wait.
How much
Okay,
time
yeah,
do
we
you
have time.
Well, then we'll jump quickly into my teaching career, which you may not have known.
Right, and I did know that actually.
I was at Walsh Middle School in Framingham, teaching in a 2-way bilingual program, Espanol and English, and coaching
because you
kids
lived in the Dominican
and Mexico. You're right.
Yeah.
Yes, and then after that, I eventually got into the news world out west. The acting stuff came a little bit later in life. It was something that I'd always thought I wanted to do. As a trumpeter, I was always told by people, you can be in the pit and play music for this show, but not be on stage. I eventually got my way on stage and in a few movies and things like that. So it was none of my path is linear, Kim. You're finding this out. It's a bit of a running around in circles at times.
Well, I think by the way, you've been in some really incredible movies.
Yeah, good stuff.
Including Patriots Day, right?
Yeah,
here,
that's
you know,
really
which
something.
is-
And now, of course, this is something we think about each year, coming right back to us with the marathon.
Absolutely.
Coming up very soon.
You bet.
Yeah.
But You are a voiceover artist, and I have now learned that you also do numerous different impressions, I have a feeling, right?
Yeah, some impressions, a lot of accents,
dialects,
sure.
But you have narrated how many audiobooks?
50, and even 50. Yeah.
Josh, 50, no
Well,
less.
I was getting after it for a while, yeah. And I was at that moment making the transition, from news into sports. You mentioned before, not all that easy. Sports is this is a competitive business anyway. I don't have to tell you that.
Yeah.
But with sports, I always say to people, think there are just a couple of people who get to do that job as opposed to more in news. So it's very specialized. And I wanted to branch from news into sports. I was doing some of each. The opportunity wasn't perfect, and I started to do some voiceover at a suggestion of a friend. Acting and voiceover go hand in hand because when you're a voice actor, of course, you're acting as different characters. So I did a bunch of fiction and nonfiction, and really very fun.
Okay, so talk me through.
Sure.
I think you're the first person I have ever met who did audiobooks.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Yeah, I think you are.
Well, nice to be here.
Right. I'm going to get your autograph after this is over. What is that experience like?
Well, you got to keep your vocal cords ready.
Do you read
it
all in one session?
So you read in chunks in sessions. It depends on the book. And I always tell people this. If you're reading a novel at home and you're picturing the different voices in your head, you might have a conversation between a husband and wife. Let's just say that. It would be very choppy if you recorded all the husband's lines and then afterward edited in all the wife's lines because it would be not real. So what I learned through the process, a couple books I did, I was literally trying to do, say, female voices. You can hear my voice. It doesn't sound like a woman's voice.
Not hardly, no.
And I learned from some experienced audiobook narrators that you don't need to do a woman's voice. You just need to change the tone. So you can record it all at once. So now I'm having a conversation as a man right here, and she's saying, excuse me, it's time to go. Wait. Can I please just finish watching? 2 more minutes. Is it a sports 2 minutes or is it a real 2 minutes? So like the tone can change from one to another, and the conversation is real and it's happening. And if I recorded that, all the male part and then all the female part, it wouldn't work.
No, it absolutely would not.
Yeah.
Wow,
so that's just a
Josh, I am telling you,
little
this
bitty
is the
sample.
coolest thing.
Yeah,
I am so impressed with this.
Thanks.
I mean, how do you... do you read the book first before you go in? Okay, so you
excellent point you
Yeah.
brought up right here. I did narrate one book at one point on page 176. While I was recording, the author had written, said with his Texas twang. And I went, oh no. I have not been twanging for the first 175 pages of this character. I have a couple of options. Do I re-record just that part? Try to find all the 295 sections of dialogue? No. Start from scratch.
Wow.
So you have to pre-read. You really need to pre-read.
Absolutely you do.
A really good publisher, a really good author will tell you in advance
Some
the
of the things
character
they're sort of,
descriptions, what comes up.
Right.
In this case, it was a smaller project, and that's fine. Listen, I was totally fine doing smaller projects. You have to start somewhere.
Of course.
I always tell people that. Take the work. Do the work. Do high-quality work. You'll get more work. Right?
So, Josh, I'm going to ask you, and you can say, Kim, it's none of your business, but how well does that pay someone?
The bigger name people, who are often celebrity-type narrators, can make pretty good money doing it.
I bet.
In my case, not so great much money doing it, but I do have an arrangement where I get some residual checks. As you know, sometimes that works in the business. So that's good.
Yeah. And are you open to that to this day? I mean,
I wish I were. I have to say to my employers at Hearst, the Hearst Corporation, I am a sports guy at the moment.
Yeah.
Maybe there'll be something down the road.
Right. Well, I mean, your voice isn't going away, and your ability to read that is not going away. So, I mean, that's one of those wonderful things that, when you're sitting on the beach in Florida eventually or wherever, you might be able to turn back to that and say, hey, I can still do that.
Pop into a little studio.
I was just going to say, you just get into
home
a studio.
studios are the way to go now, and so
100%.
a lot of the work is there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, that is such a great story. That is just the coolest thing I have ever heard in my life. Sports obviously has has become your life, though.
Yes.
At this stage of the game, anyway.
It has, for sure.
It's actually sort of full circled for you because obviously you were an athlete all your life.
Right.
Or you wouldn't have been playing football the way that you did all the way through college. So I'm tickled for you because I think that's really important. And you're right.
Thank you, Kim.
Sports world is a competitive one. I will tell you very quickly.
Please.
I went to the University of Missouri.
Missouri
journalism
or
school.
Missouri?
I went to Missouri.
Okay,
there
just
are
checking.
those who went to Missouri. I don't know if that was another school or, but I went with the intention of being a sports anchor.
Wow. Well, it's a
I went
fine
to the
journalism school, that's for sure.
Well, a very fine counselor said to me, Kim, as a woman at that stage of the game, your chances of getting a job are going to be tough. So why don't you broaden your horizons a bit because you'll get work. And thank goodness that person did that for me, because I never looked back. Now I can just enjoy sports.
Great.
And, not be so worried about it. But I can certainly relate to the idea of it being very competitive. Well, speaking of sports, we have much more to talk about, and you and I'll continue our conversation.
Wonderful.
But obviously, you're here with me for the whole show, and I'm very excited. We got a great show.
Yeah.
It's so fun. The Revolution playing down at Gillette Stadium, I think with the hopes that eventually they're going to be playing in Everett.
Sounds like it, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be really lucky to have a member of the Revolution, and he is the ambassador to the New England Revolution's Amputee Soccer Team,
which is fabulous, by the way.
Were you aware of that before we talked about this? Okay,
but again, this is partially because we cover the Revs, and at Channel 5 and other stations, we love to cover stories in the community. This is the perfect combination of that.
It is.
And I talked before about doing it for the love of the game. This embodies that a whole lot more than anything I did when I was a college athlete. Yeah. So it's wonderful.
It is amazing. And I have to tell you that for those of you who are listening to us, you won't be able to see this, but I'm hoping for those who are watching on YouTube, we'll include some video of some of these games.
Great.
It is incredibly athletic.
And fast-paced.
It's amazing.
I love
amazing.
that. Yeah.
So a member of the amputee team will also be joining us. So we're going to hear it from top to bottom. So we're looking forward to that. Josh Brogadir is keeping me company today, everybody. And we've got a lot more coming your way. Josh and I'll both be here on the other side of the break. This is Kerrigan & Company.
Have you tried Rumson Rum yet? This smooth, sweet, memorable rum is distilled in the Caribbean, barreled aged, and then blended, finished, and bottled in Salem, Massachusetts. Rumson's offers 4 unique blends: Gold, Spice, Grand Reserved, and Coffee. Before you start to sip or mix your next cocktail, ask yourself, do I want to enjoy New England's most awarded rum brand? If the answer is yes, the answer is Rumson's. Get Rumson's rum at liquor stores or ask for it by name at your favorite restaurant. Rumson's. Life lived, life enjoyed.
This segment of Kerrigan & Company is brought to you by Lucia Lighting and Design, where people in the know go for the best possible lighting and design experience. Welcome back, everybody, to Kerrigan & Company. So good to have you for this episode. We're talking sports, and of course, who better to talk sports with than Josh Brogadir from CVB Channel 5. So good to have Josh with me, keeping me company today. Josh, we said before the break that you guys over at Channel 5 obviously cover the Revs.
Oh, for sure.
And they, I got to tell you now, of all the sports, my kids did not play soccer.
Okay.
Played every sport under the sun except soccer.
Yep.
And I am amazed at how long the Revs season is.
Yes. It starts in February. I mean, the first...
Ends in October, right,
Yeah.
Josh?
I mean, they play matches in February through October. They hope for longer than that. Had a couple of bumpy years.
Yeah.
But they're trying to get things going down there.
Well, they've got something that is they should all be credited for, and that is the New England, I'm going to call it the New England Revolution Amputee Soccer Team. They're associated with the Revs, and they too are kicking off their season, and with us right now is a member of that team, and I'm so happy that he could join us. He's also a Massachusetts native. This is Kevin Chambers, and it's great to see you.
It's great to be here, and I want to thank you both for having me.
Oh, gosh. We are so glad that you could come and be a part of the show. This is another guy, by the way, who has about, 4 or 5 careers that he could call a career.
Is that the truth, Kevin?
It depends who's counting, I would say.
All right.
I look at myself, I'm like, I need some other abilities, clearly. You guys could all just go in whichever direction. You've been a teacher, worked in politics. You're a soccer player, and now you've gone back to teaching.
I have, and number 5, I would say, is I also am a raft guide at Crabapple Whitewater out in Western Massachusetts for the summer.
Nice.
So.
Which is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. That is terrific. So you have a story, and it's related, obviously, to your amputation.
Mm-hmm.
You are without your which foot?
Left.
Your left foot.
Yep.
So tell us about, let's talk about that. Let's start there and how that happened.
Sure. So I was, unfortunately in a car accident in 2021. My left ankle, they saved it night of, but it never healed in a way that was going to be functional ever again. And so in March of 2023, I actually underwent an elective below the knee amputation to opt for a prosthetic instead of my biological foot. So, because it wasn't working anymore and couldn't play soccer, couldn't do any of the things you just listed off. So
Yeah. That's a tough decision to make.
One might say.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, and I read, and you were being interviewed, and you said you were in dark days because obviously you couldn't function like you had prior to the accident, and no doubt with conversations, many with family and doctors and so on and so forth, you made the decision this would be the best way to get back to a real life. So once it happened, what happened to you?
I was on the couch for about 3 months, but after I finally got my prosthetic, my life changed dramatically. I could do everything again, running, skiing. I work full time, or will be working full time as a whitewater rafting guide this summer. I just finished the St. Patrick's 10K out in Western Mass, 58:15. That was my time, which I was very proud of. And so my life, a complete 180 back to getting everything to do that I wanted to do.
And I just want to, can I jump in and ask a question here, Kim?
You go right ahead.
Just a follow-up question to what you said. Did you have to relearn how to do most of these things? I just wonder only because clearly it's a little bit different. I'm sure your footfalls have got to be different than they were before, but yet you're competing at such a high level, it sounds like.
Yeah, no, I would say everything, for a lot, in most cases, things came back quickly, but they came back different. Like with skiing, came back different. Running took a little while, and obviously with running, having a running blade is different than having an ankle. Like I really struggle on downhills running because there's no ankle to lean back on. It's just kind of a big spring. But for the most part, I would say that I adapted pretty quick and pretty well.
I have to tell you, you walked up to the door here, and no one would ever know that if they see you right now that you're walking on a prosthetic. You would not know it.
And I have to plug the good physical therapists at Bay State Rehab in Springfield for helping me do that, as well as the plastics team across the street over at Mass Gen is where I had my amputation done. So I'm so lucky to have the medical care that I did, and that is 100% why. I get that comment a lot, and it's I have to credit all of the doctors and physical therapists and my prosthetist as well who helped me along the way.
And we're going to get to the soccer part of this story, but you work with an organization that's called Bionic Project. And this is an organization that, and I'm going to let you tell the story, I don't need to tell it, but it's really working hard to make sure that those who live with disabilities are seen and are involved. Talk to us about it.
Sure. So I've been with Bionic since October, and our big mission is, like you just said, dismantling disability bias, as well as giving people with disabilities a platform to speak and to show what they're capable of. There's a lot of times in our culture, I think, that the narrative around people with disability is almost pity or inspiration. When a lot of time, and I know my friend Nico wishes he could be here today, but he and I talk a lot about this, is that we're just we're doing what we want to do. There's nothing special about us. There's nothing not special about us. And that's kind of what the Bionic Project goes to show, that people with disabilities are just as capable and as people without, and also that we have the same kind of athletic goals as people without disabilities. So,
yeah, it strikes me when you were saying about being on the couch for a few months and maybe there were some dark days. I can only imagine how much more confidence this gives you to be able to live your life the way you want to live it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like I said, our rafting season starting soon. We got the soccer game at Gillette this weekend. So getting back to everything, it's been a blessing.
Kevin, how different do you think that your experience is, because you were someone you were not born disabled, and you lived how many years, hon?
25.
5 years. How different is your experience from someone who came to the world with a disability and has lived with it all their life?
I would say drastically. I didn't have to grow up with such a visual disability or such an impairment or have to grow into it. Also mine was elective too, so I chose. I was ready to do it, and I had agency over the situation. And for people who were born with disabilities, they don't have that. That's kind of the deal they were given, and so. Just talking to my friends who were born with their disabilities, because I'm all over the amputee sports community here in Massachusetts and New England. So I'm lucky to meet a lot of really cool athletes, and a lot of them were born with their disabilities, and just the stories that they have growing up, it's just dramatically different than what I've gone through. And also, I think the culture has changed a lot in the last 20 years. It's like I was talking about that pity or inspiration mode that we automatically drop into, I think was a lot more prevalent 10 or 15 years ago when some of my friends were still growing up. And I think that's starting to dissipate now. And that's kind of what we're at the Bionic Project. We're hoping that culture shifts towards too.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Before we get into soccer, because I know we will in a little bit, you just ticked off a few others. You got skiing, you got whitewater rafting. Is there a sport that you have not yet tried that you're saying, all right, this is going to be my next one?
That's a good question, Josh.
I'll let you ruminate on that for a while.
You have to ruminate on that one.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a quick answer, but give that some thought, because I'll bet you there's a lot of them out there where you're like, you know what, I could do this.
Probably basketball. I mean, so there's
Nice.
there's this kind of irony. I never played soccer growing up, right?
Okay.
I was football, track, lacrosse growing up, and I got into soccer after my amputation because. It's a group of amputee athletes. It's a community I was looking for. Everyone's so devoted and so about the sport, and so that's why I started playing soccer, because it's kind of the only I would say this and sled hockey are the only two group sports for adaptive athletes in New England. A lot of stuff is individual, like skiing, like track, and soccer and sled hockey are the only two that have that camaraderie, and so that's why I started playing soccer with New England.
Team sports, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, let's talk about the soccer. Because you play on crutches. Mm-hmm. This is part of the gig here, which is crazy because it's a long way and a lot of running, and you're operating on 3 legs for all intents and purposes. That's tough.
Yeah, I'm not going to downplay it. The amputee soccer is a very physically challenging sport. I think.
Yes.
God, my little pedometer on my watch, I think we do like 2 or 3 miles a game once we count it up at the end, and it's physically intense.
Yeah.
And I don't use crutches as my primary mode of movement. I'll use them every now and then. If my prosthetic's bothering me, or if I've had a really long day, a really long hike, and I really pushed it, I'll use my crutches to get around. But I don't use them as my everyday modality, and hopping onto them can be very physically challenging.
I mean, that's part of the training, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. I was reading that you played 25-minute halves plus stoppage time. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
So that's a lot of time just to be out there, and obviously you're on your foot, but you're also balancing yourself. I mean, that's got to be an incredible skill to be able to move over to the ball and then kick it and then chase it.
Yeah, and you'll see some of the guys who play a long time, they just have these gigantic traps
I was just
crutching up miles up and down the field all the time.
Right. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. You have to be so athletic to be able to do it, because your upper body is as much a part of this game at that point as your lower body.
I try to, like, when people ask what it's like, I'm like, it's like sprinting with your arms. I
bet.
Yeah.
I bet.
And to that credit, the other guys in my team are such phenomenal athletes. I am not the lead on the team. Some of those guys, they're so good on their crutches. It's phenomenal.
So talk about what that sport means. I know it means a lot to you, but you just said something, and that was that I didn't play soccer before. There are guys out there playing who soccer was their life, and then they lost a limb. What has this meant to them?
I mean, to get back on the field and to represent New England, I mean, I can speak for myself. I don't know if I can speak necessarily for them, but it means the world. And it's for lack of a better word, it's just so amazing to get out there with like other fellow adaptive athletes, and you can see just kind of like, the light in everyone's eyes when they get out on the field and getting into the sport. And I would, for me, my big sport before my amputation was being a raft guide. For lack, I don't know if that's a sport, but
Yeah, it's a sport. We'll give it
bet
to
it
you
is.
for sure.
And so getting back to that, it just, I was in tears the first time I actually, got through the river and did everything. And so I would have to imagine the guys on the field who grew up playing soccer, when they got out in the field and we have our Revs jerseys and we're out under the lights at Gillette, it's got to be the high point of the year.
Absolutely. You guys got a big game coming up.
Yes,
Very
we do.
exciting.
April 19th at Gillette Stadium. If anyone wants to come, we're playing the New York Metro team. They have a similar analog amputee soccer team alongside New York City Football Club. And so we play after them if anyone listening wants to come along. So come on down to the Revs. Every ticket that the Revs sell that day is $5 also to the USA Amputee Soccer as well.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Can you take us through a little bit about how this all functions in terms of people know, or most people know when they're watching soccer, it's 11 on 11 and there's substitutions and all that and size of the field. And can you take us through just a little bit about sort of what are people going to see when they watch?
Sure. So we actually, the standard field size for us, and this is going to be hard to visualize for the listeners, it's if you take the regular half of a soccer field and rotate it 90 degrees. So we're not playing full length. We're taking the regular half and we're playing the width of a normal,
I think most people involved with youth soccer can picture that.
Yeah,
for
Right,
sure.
right.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
They switch the games for the kids.
Right.
So that kind of, so continue.
So we do play on, that half field. There's no offsides. It's, still typical numbers, same as regular soccer team. We have unlimited substitutions.
Okay.
So the rules are just like a little different, just
Penalties?
to accommodate for. Yeah, we still have penalties. We still have penalty kicks.
PKs, the whole bit?
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
And Kevin, if I have seen the video correctly, so your goalie is an amputee, but it's his arm.
Yes. So traditionally, the goalies in amputee soccer have some sort of upper limb difference. Just to kind of, because obviously if you have an upper limb difference, crutches are very difficult to use.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And so we try to make it's kind of the spirit of sports to be as inclusive as possible.
Wow. It's fantastic.
It is.
Again, for those of you watching and listening, if you have not seen this in action, you must see it. It is so incredibly impressive. I mean, soccer is impressive. Soccer's long for me. This is incredible. This is the kind of soccer I think I can really get behind. It's really
Well,
terrific.
sounds like we might see you April 19th.
I know.
in the stands.
I'd like to come down and see you guys. And after you play on the 19th, how frequently will you play over the next few?
We have some tournaments across the Northeast in the summer. I believe there's one in New York. I'm not sure on the dates.
Great.
But the second weekend of September is the USA Amputee Soccer Cup,
Right.
which will be hosted in Weymouth this year. So anyone
nice.
listening, I know it's nearby.
Great. Well, you've got a sports anchor here who
Love it.
will
It's great.
no doubt be there to see that happen.
Sure.
Kevin, thank you. I'm so glad you could be part of the show today. This
Yeah.
is so impressive, and you're an impressive guy. So keep up the great work.
Well, thank you for saying that, and thank you to both for having me. It was wonderful to be here.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right, we'll take a break, everybody. When we come back, a member of the Revs going to join us right here on Kerrigan & Company. Well, we did it. We survived another New England winter. As the days get longer, it's time to plan ahead and think about landscape and outdoor lighting. My friends at Lucia Lighting and Design in Lynn can help you get your landscape and outdoor living spaces ready for summer. They'll work with you to plan a space that's well lit, comfortable, and secure. After all, outdoor lighting is like adding a room to your home. Get started by going to lucialighting.com and then make an appointment to visit their beautiful showroom in Lynn, Massachusetts. That's lucialighting.com. Celebrate inclusion and have a blast doing it at the Northeast Arc's annual Evening of Changing Lives Gala. I'm thrilled that I'll be returning to MC this event at Encore Boston Harbor. I hope you'll join me on Tuesday, April the 8th, to support an organization that helps people with disabilities live as fully included members of their community. The event features a cocktail reception and an inclusive fashion show. Visit ne-arc.org/gala to buy tickets and explore sponsorship opportunities. That's ne-arc.org/gala. Have you heard the news? The 2025 season is on sale now at Bill Haney's North Shore Music Theater. The season begins with The Shark is Broken, a new play about the making of Jaws. Then you won't want to miss the Broadway musical Waitress, followed by the magical production of The Wizard of Oz, an electrifying production of Grease, and the Pulitzer Prize winning phenomenon Rent, and finally the dazzling production of The Cher Show. Tickets and discount subscription packages are on sale now at nsmt.org. Don't miss a single show. This segment of Kerrigan & Company is brought to you by Bill Haney's North Shore Music Theater. Learn all about this year's shows at nsmt.org. Welcome back, everybody, to Kerrigan & Company as we continue our conversation about soccer, it was so great to have Kevin here. He is terrific, huh?
Kevin is inspiring, and he doesn't want to be inspiring, which in some ways, like downplaying all that he's been through. That to me is remarkable.
It is, and I think
something.
I think you've really summed it up well. I don't know if I mentioned this already, Josh, but this is Limb Loss and Limb Difference Awareness Month.
Okay, no.
In April. So it was great to have Kevin here to talk a little bit about that. And his story is so unique because he did make this decision. Right. But I would put that in air quotes. You know, he elected to do that, but did he really? If he was going to get on with his life, it sounded like that was so important.
Yes.
What I love about our next guest, besides the fact that he's a professional athlete, which is so terrific, a member of the New England Revolution, he's a Rev. But in addition to that, he's the ambassador to the amputee team, and it is just terrific to have Will Sands with us today. Hi, Will.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me here.
You bet. So the first thing I have to ask you about, if I could, because we've just come from this conversation with Kevin, is about being the ambassador. How did that all come about?
It kind of came from a few different angles, to be honest. I have a family member who he founded the Bionic Project, which is a company in Massachusetts that's based on kind of bringing awareness and building a community among amputees and people with limb differences across the country. My brother was the ambassador. He was a soccer player for NYCFC, also in the MLS, and he was the ambassador for them during his time there. So yeah, there's a few different areas of my life that all converged, and yeah, it was something that I've seen a couple of their practices and games, and it was really inspiring, and it's something I want to get involved in.
Absolutely. What does it take to be the ambassador? What do you do?
I think it is a lot of, just bringing awareness, kind of using the platform that we have and kind of the organization of the Revolution as a whole to provide resources and bring awareness to kind of the amputee, especially on the soccer side of it, so the American Amputee Soccer League. I would say awareness and resources.
Cool.
Will, Josh here. We'll talk about your soccer in just a minute because I definitely want to fill people in on that. But just a little bit more on the game of amputee soccer. And when we were speaking with Kevin about it, he talked about just the need to sort of have the crutches. And he doesn't use them all the time, but to be able to have to use them and kick the soccer ball, and it's a whole lot. Is this something that you and your mates might be able to do easily, or do you look at it and say, how do they do this?
Absolutely not. I could not do it in a million years. I remember I did go watch a game recently, and I was astounded not only with the quality of play that was going on, but the speed and dexterity at which people moved. It was unbelievable. And yeah, it was truly inspiring and kind of, I was in awe for most of the time that I watched it. Do
you kind of find, Will, when you're watching, you forget that they're on those crutches and that you're, just taking in unbelievable soccer?
Yeah, I think there is an element of that. And it's also just an appreciation of how the game changes, like the way that kind of tactics evolve and how people kind of the techniques that people employ to kind of perform at their best. There's an ingenuity to it that was astounding to me. And when you get down to it, there's an element of the game that kind of holds between amputee soccer and the soccer I play day in, day out. And it's cool to see those foundational aspects carry over from one sport to another.
So Josh, this is Will's second season with the Revs, coming off an injury, I understand. Soccer is in the Sands blood.
Yes, sir. Yes, it is, right, Will? You got it. I remember watching last year, Will, when you were playing against your brother. So for those people who don't know about that, can you fill us in on the Sands family and the soccer connection?
Yeah, I'm one of 4 kids, and all of us have played soccer. I have 2 older sisters, both played in college. One won 2 national championships at the D3 level with Williams. And then me and my twin brother, James, have both played in the MLS, and he is now in Germany playing in the Bundesliga. So,
That's a lot of soccer.
That is a lot of soccer. Want to jump in on the Revs for a bit. First of all, you mentioned the win this weekend, which I watched, and congratulations. That Atlanta side is a tough side. I saw you come in for Peyton Miller and do your part. What led to that win, do you think? Obviously, playing in a place like Atlanta, there's a ton of fans, and they're screaming at you the whole time, but you guys held your own.
Yeah, Mercedes-Benz Stadium is kind of a surreal place, but it's a place you have to go to with a kind of solidarity as a team. I think we stuck together even when things aren't going perfect. It's just kind of it's a group effort, and it takes the entire team. So I think defensively we're very strong, and we managed to grab a goal and hold on to the lead in the last couple minutes. But I think overall it was a pretty solid performance, and it was a group effort, I would say.
And sports guy question here as a follow-up, if I can. Thank you. What is this kind of a win? I know it's your second of the season, and the goals have not been plentiful, shall we say. What does this second win do for your side and for Caleb and moving forward here against NYCFC this weekend?
I think it proves that there is a lot of potential with this group. I think we've known that from the beginning. We've been unfortunate that hasn't quite come together yet, but you can see glimpses of what this team can become. And I think especially going to a talented team like Atlanta and a hostile place like Mercedes-Benz Stadium and getting a result is massive for confidence and for, as I said, kind of the trust in the system and everything. And yeah, it was just very important from a mental side of the game to get that win.
Mm-hmm. Talk to us a little bit, if you will, about soccer in the United States. I mean, we all know that you go to Europe and, it's like football here, obviously, it's the European football, and you can't, you can't get another person in the stadium. You guys are certainly gaining popularity, but tell me over the 4 years that you've played, what kind of shifts you've seen, or have you seen shifts?
Yeah, I think the level of soccer in this country is certainly growing, and in terms of kind of the grassroots popularity of it is certainly on the rise. I think that is projected to continue, especially with the fact that the U.S. is hosting the 2026 World Cup. So I'm expecting kind of big leaps in terms of popularity in this country. I think it's not quite where we want it yet, but I think you can see that there is a pathway, and hopefully we can get there very soon.
Mm-hmm.
With games at Gillette Stadium, by the way. We know that. Yes, 2026. That's pretty impressive. Those are going to be tough tickets. No question about that.
Yeah.
That they are. Would you, there's all the talk, obviously, about the idea of building a stadium for you guys, specifically, obviously, over there in Everett. Do you think that would change the game for you if you got into a more comfortable sized stadium?
Yeah. I think it gives off of a kind of, I love Gillette Stadium and everything about it. I do think the soccer-specific stadiums that I've played in kind of, suit the game a little bit better. It kind of builds into that ambiance that kind of people are looking for when they go to a stadium. And I think playing soccer in a football stadium, while Gillette Stadium is amazing for so many reasons, there is, I think, an authenticity of playing soccer in a soccer-specific stadium that really lends to kind of an environment that people want to come watch games.
Mm-hmm. I could not agree with what he said more. Well, I agree with everything you said, and you handled that in such a deft, apolitical way. So nicely done. I know there's a bit of a hot potato right now with things, but we're not asking for those questions. But no, you're absolutely right. And there's something about these soccer-specific stadiums, Kim, that when you watch them, and Will would no question agree with me, the packed house feels different, and it's also configured differently, where the fan experience is different. So when he goes on the road, he knows exactly what we're talking about. And Mercedes-Benz, by the way, is a football stadium, but Atlanta's wild, so that's a little bit of a different thing.
Sure,
altogether.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You bet. What's the future for you?
I don't know yet. I like to take it one day at a time. I'm loving my time here in New England, and I love the Revs. So yeah.
Yeah, you're an upstate New York guy, right?
Yes. So yeah, grew up in upstate New York.
Yeah. So obviously, when you meet New York this next week, you will have no problems with your allegiance, right?
Not at all. I grew up playing with a lot of the guys on the team now, and for some reason that always makes the rivalry more intense instead of less intense. So I am definitely looking forward to this game.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Can we circle back to the
Please.
amputees, if we could, for just a moment? Where do you hope to see that all go, Will? As I'm very impressed with the fact that your entire family has obviously been involved, and you, I know, have a soccer career, but you are intimately involved on that side too. Where would you like to see that league go, and what do you think can happen?
I just want to see kind of the growth of the game. I think it brings an awareness to the community that needs it at times, and I think being able to see people pursue their dreams in spite heavy obstacles and challenges is something that really inspires me. So I just really hope that kind of the amputee or the American Amputee Soccer League grows, and because soccer is so important to me, and I want to see the fulfillment of people's dreams in that arena. So yeah, I hope it grows.
And I'm really hoping a lot of folks will stick around for after your game when they're at Gillette on Saturday night and stay and watch the amputee soccer game. I think they'll see something they've never seen before for the most part.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I will definitely be there. So yeah, I'm encouraging anyone that's going to be at that game to stick around and watch, because it's going to be truly something to behold. It's
really cool too, because a portion of the ticket sales is going to the team to help to fund. I know that before the game begins, before your game begins, the amputee team is going to be presented with new uniforms and some great stuff that's all coming from the Revs. So it's so terrific that the two teams are working hand in hand. It's an impressive thing, and I love the fact that you've gotten involved. It's really great. Will, thank you. I'm so glad you could be part of the show today. Continued success. Go Revs. You guys, I was talking to Josh. I was saying, man, the season is so long. It's a long season, so I know there's only 2 wins under your belt, but it's a long season, and hopefully we're going to see a whole lot more of those.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Will.
This is Kerrigan & Company. Have you heard the news? The 2025 season is on sale now at Bill Haney's North Shore Music Theater. The season begins with The Shark is Broken, a new play about the making of Jaws. Then you won't want to miss the Broadway musical Waitress, followed by the magical production of The Wizard of Oz, an electrifying production of Grease, and the Pulitzer Prize winning phenomenon Rent, and finally the dazzling production of The Cher Show. Tickets and discount subscription packages are on sale now at nsmt.org. Don't miss a single show. Spring is sprung, and for many of us, that means finally coming out of hibernation. Soon there'll be the graduation parties and the weddings to attend, so why not get your skin ready for all the fun right now? Our friends at Sienna Aesthetics Spa in Beverly have some great springtime specials. Buy 2 hydrofacials and you'll get the second treatment half off. And if you book a Botox treatment after your facial, each Botox unit is only $11. Don't wait. Book your treatment today. Go to SiennaAesthetics.com. That's SiennaAesthetics.com. This segment of Kerrigan & Company is brought to you by Sienna Aesthetics Medical Spa. Take years off your face with the very latest technologies at Sienna Aesthetics in Beverly. Well, it's that time of the show that we always wrap things up. And, of course, keeping me company today is Josh Brogadir from Channel 5, sports anchor extraordinaire. And
thank you.
This has been such a treat to have you here. I love when the shows have this kind of synergy, and I think this is a great thing. You guys cover the Revs, and
we do.
You get
and
all
the
of that.
Celtics and the Red Sox and all the other teams and the marathon coming up here.
Yeah, the marathon coming up. You know, it's it's interesting because when it comes to the Revs, I think that their fan base is so loyal.
Yes, it
I mean,
is.
it's so loyal. And asking, Will, how he feels about soccer in America, because I want to see it grow, because it's got to be hard to be in a city like this one where sports are so important.
Yes.
And to sort of be that team.
Well, they truly play fifth fiddle. And there's no way around that as I see it. Right. And it's not because of the Revs, it's because there's so much passion for the other four teams.
Right.
That when new teams come to town, and we at Channel 5 really appreciate covering things like PWHL with the Boston Fleet is
Absolutely.
wonderful. And the NWSL's new, soccer team, Legacy. And we will be there for those, but you also can't ignore the Patriots, Red Sox, Celtics, and Bruins, because that's what people love. That's what they know. And those teams have huge followings.
Yeah, they certainly do.
Anyway, worth saying anyway.
Oh, I think it's great. And I think that the Revs are terrific. I remember, it feels like they just arrived yesterday. That's not true. They've
It's
actually
not. It's
been
30
here
years.
for a bit.
Yeah.
Which is really crazy.
Yeah.
It was just as I came to Boston.
Right.
They were coming on the scene. And I think we really have seen a real increase in interest and young people are very interested in soccer now.
Absolutely.
Which is really great. And
sure.
you were right about the World Cup coming this way. That's going to make a big, big difference for sure. Josh, we do this thing. It's called the Fast Five.
Oh, great.
It's rapid fire questions and answers. And we give you 30 seconds to answer all five.
All right.
And are you ready?
I am. And by the way, just so everybody knows, I have not seen these questions.
No, you have not
these
seen
are
these
coming
questions.
right at me. I'm ready.
Here we go in 3, 2, and 1. What's your favorite sports team that is not based in New England?
Ooh, not based in New England. I wasn't prepared for this question, but I'm going to have to say the León soccer team in Mexico that I used to cheer for.
That is so impressive. Very good. Thank goodness you didn't say the Yankees.
Oh, gosh.
If you were a DJ, what would your DJ name be?
A DJ J Bro.
J Bro. I know for a fact that you have been a celebrity ringmaster at the Shriners Circuit.
Accurate.
But if you had to, would you rather wear clown shoes or a clown wig all day?
I'd go with the clown wig. Yes, for sure.
Would you prefer to be an actor on camera, or would you prefer to be a voiceover actor?
Probably a voiceover actor, although I like both.
Can you give me one quick little accent?
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Which one do you like? Is that the one you'd like right there, Kemi? Oh, okay.
And what is the first concert that you ever attended?
Blues Traveler.
Blues
Remember that?
Traveler.
Yeah, it was wonderful. Palace Theater, New Haven, Connecticut.
I have to tell you, that would not have been what I would have chosen for you, but that's impressive.
What was your first concert?
My first concert was Billy Joel.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. He was very young. It was very good.
Awesome.
And I've subsequently seen him about 42 times.
Well, there you go.
Still love him to this day. You guys have the marathon coming up. That's awesome.
We do.
And obviously, we've got playoffs.
Playoffs right around the corner. The Celtics are going to get a bye in this first round, essentially, because there's the play-in games, but they are the number 2 seed, so they're going to get a good team.
What do you think?
I think they can do it again.
Yeah, I think they can, too.
I really can, and I've been saying that since before the season started.
Yeah. And let me ask you about the Red Sox. Mm-hmm. We are seeing them kind of fits and,
It fits and starts.
Yeah. But I feel like they're a young team with some foundation. What do you think?
I think they're a young team that has tremendous upside. And by that, I mean, if things go well, they really can do really well. But what we're also seeing now is when you have a young team, there are a lot of mistakes that come with it. If this team can field, meaning not kick the ball around the field like they've been doing, and they have timely hitting, not just hitting.
Yeah.
Guys can get doubles when they get stranded at second base, but timely hitting means you're on second base and the next guy knocks you in.
Absolutely.
They need more of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
They can do it, though.
It's so fun, sports in this city,
Isn't it? I know.
It really is.
Does this work?
So
Not
fun.
really all the time. I say that. For me, gets to watch games on TV and in person.
And then, of course, we have the marathon coming up, and you have an inspiring job. I've covered it many, many times.
Yeah.
And there
Lead
are moments.
truck, by the way.
Oh, good
right
for
in
you.
front of the men coming
Good
right
for
at
you.
me. Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's a great spot. You're
You were saying
backwards,
inspiring moments. I'm sorry. I
Oh,
cut you off.
no. Just, I remember I would be at the start and then move to the finish. And, some of those people that you spoke to at 6 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
then you would see again at the end, and it's quite a day.
It's an incredible thing. It is the experience in Massachusetts.
It is.
People, if you haven't been out there to cheer, this is your time to do it because the runners need you. They do.
They certainly do. It's incredible. Josh Brogadir, thank you. Thanks for being a part of Kerrigan
My
Company.
pleasure.
You kept me company
Thank you
today.
so much
I
for having
appreciate
me.
that. Absolutely. Continued success.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, and if you ever need any counseling, I'll let you know which career you should choose
Okay.
when it's all said and done.
Fabulous.
Hey, thanks to all of you for being here as well. We're so glad that you could be a part of this episode. When you watch us on YouTube, be sure that you subscribed. Otherwise, follow us on social. We're going to be back next week. Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody, for listening to Kerrigan & Company. To find out who will keep me company and be my co-host on the next episode, be sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, and TikTok. Kerrigan & Company is recorded at the Big Night Studios at the TD Garden in Boston. You can view the podcast on YouTube and listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure you tell a friend. The executive producer of Kerrigan & Company is David Thompson. Our engineer is Peter Hurley. And our social media managers are Grace Kerrigan, Colby Thompson, and Riley Thompson. See you next time.